Is that a GoPro?
Insta 360.
Oh, interesting.
All of them.
You vlogging?
Got the whole lineup.
What are you making a video about?
It's a YouTube channel.
What's the premise for this one?
I'm only recording on my hat right now, by the way. It's the only one that's going. And you don't have to be in it if you don't want to. I can cut you out of it.
I don't mind. Just wondering what you're up to.
Just sightseeing and street epistemology.
Oh, okay. What's epistemology mean?
It's the study of knowledge.
Study of knowledge.
How do we justify our beliefs?
Okay. What have you learned?
Well, I haven't gotten an interview yet today. I'm still looking for one.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. What are the questions?
Well, I asked people to pick a belief that they have concluded is true, that isn't important. It makes for a better conversation if it's an important belief to them. Like if they found out that it wasn't true, that they would change the way they lived it, something about the way they live their life or something like that.
It's like, I remember asking people that question, like, what would I have to tell you?
And if I sit down a sec, this is heavy. It's 30 pounds.
Damn. I remember I was asking somebody that at one point, like, about like astrology, like, what would I have to tell you for you to change your mind about this opinion? And it was like, one person was very honest with me, and they were like, look, there's nothing you can tell me that would get me to change my mind. And it was just like, I gave up, I think, trying to change people's mind about a lot of things, because it's like, I feel like over time, maybe they'll learn. Like, life will teach you lessons and you'll learn them or not. It's exhausting, I feel like, trying to convince people. You know what I mean?
Well, that's why I do this, because I don't think that you can convince people, but people can change their own minds if you give them a chance for self-reflection.
That's the key. You can't tell them the answer. You have to lead them to them thinking they found.
So that's what I attempt to do. I ask people to lead me down the path that led them to the belief to see if I can get there too. And maybe along the way, as you try to get me there, you'll realize that maybe your confidence in the belief is stronger than it is justified by your reasons.
Do people generally stay pretty civil with you about this?
That's the whole point, is that my task is to be completely neutral and non-argumentative. Because like I said, as soon as you start arguing with people, you stop listening.
That's a real skill, man.
It's basically the Socratic method, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah, I remember taking a philosophy course.
Yeah.
That's a lot easier said than done for me, though.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay. I don't know how you do it. How do you stay neutral?
Just do what Socrates did and don't claim any knowledge. You just have to pretend like you don't know anything. Because that gets your bias out of the way of the questions. If your questions are biased, they'll be able to tell, and then they'll get, they'll put their guards up,
Okay.
So you got to be neutral, and you got to be genuinely curious about how they got to their belief.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
That was another question that was a good one that my aunt taught me is, how did you arrive at that conclusion?
Exactly. How do you justify your conclusions?
Yeah.
What do you think is a good method for a good reliable method for concluding what's true?
So what have you found? What truths have you found to be that hold up against the Socratic method?
Oh, it's not about whether I think they hold up. I'm just giving people a chance to review their own conclusions.
But even with talking to people, like there hasn't been anything that's come up that you found like, oh, that's actually like that sort of works.
Well, I want to believe as many true things as possible, and as many.
Let's go. Let's go.
And I want to believe as few false things as possible. But yeah, I mean, I try not to inject too much of myself into it. It helps me stay neutral.
Sure.
But I'm just curious about people and how they walk around with all this confidence in their conclusions, and what supports it, And you were talking about astrology before. By the way, I'm Cosmo.
Nice. That links up, with the. Yeah.
You see, it's right here.
Yeah. Nice. I'm Jordan.
Jordan. Nice to meet you. And you're okay with being on my channel?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I gotta sit here and take a rest anyway. My shoulders are killing me. I've been walking around for a couple hours.
Yeah. So you do you like travel around the world doing this, or you just kind of?
No, I live here in San Francisco.
You're here?
Yep.
Nice.
Everyone comes here. Do you live here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good place to do it too. I mean, you got so many. You get so many people that kind of just bounce in. So how many do you have right now?
I got 4 Go 3S's. I got a 1RS X4 and the Ace Pro here.
Yeah, that's a sweet little setup you got there.
2 360 cameras. 4 hat cams that I can swap because the battery's drained, so I got to swap them out. While these are sitting idle, they're charging up in the pods. When they're out of the pod is when they drain really fast.
Yeah.
I got nervous.
You do your own editing too?
I use DaVinci Resolve.
Okay.
Do you do any video editing?
I'm a Premiere guy.
You Premiere guy, yeah?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Premiere, Photoshop. I'm a C-suite, like a Creative Cloud. Yeah.
You want to switch sides?
But do you have any important beliefs that you'd like to review, or you don't have to
I don't know
participate?
if I have any. I'm
Yeah.
trying to when you asked the first time,
I take it you don't believe in astrology.
I'm not convinced. It's
Yeah.
like one of those things that I'm.
Are there any metaphysical claims you think might hold any water?
I'm sure there's a few.
A higher power?
I'm sure it's possible. It's just I haven't been. I feel like I haven't been convinced for sure that something is definitely there.
Yeah.
I'm open to that. It could be, but no one has presented the argument where I'm like, yes, for sure. It's completely 100% like gravity or something. You know what I mean? It's not. No one has done that. So
Right.
I feel like that's kind of important, as opposed to just it makes me feel good, so I'm gonna. Because I used to believe for a little bit this idea that things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then Kobe Bryant died, and then COVID hit,
Uh-huh.
and everything sort of was very much just seemed like I don't know if that's really how that works. It seems like if anything that the world is just sort of like nature. If you ever watch any nature documentaries, it's kind of chaotic. It's kind of this crazy, unpredictable thing, and that's what makes it interesting.
Butterfly flaps its wings in Portugal, and there's a hurricane.
Yeah, so it just seems like so much is out of your control, even if you think it's within your control. Even if you really feel like you're in control, that something could happen, like an earthquake the other day, and you realize that it's you actually have very little control over a lot of things. There's this feeling though that you have control. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not a whole lot of. That was the last one I kind of had. I only had it for a few months.
Where do you think that you got that belief from, that things happen for a reason while you had it?
I think it was just a lot of things were lining up and going very well.
Okay.
And I had this long, multi-year plan where I was leaving San Francisco to go to college somewhere else to try to get a degree, to move back here and get a certain job and buy property, and I finished all that a couple of years ago, but I was in the middle of it at the time, and it was everything was lining up that year in the beginning of 2020. All these projects I was working on were coming together, and it was one thing would lead to the next project, and it really seemed like I was doing everything right and everything was going right for me to kind of get to where I wanted to go with my life. And then everything stopped and everything got canceled because they were all in-person projects, and it was just sort of that Kobe news, man. For some reason, it was I wasn't even a big Kobe Bryant fan, but something about this idea that there's no way those 10 people on the helicopter deserve to die like that. That idea that karma, things happen, people deserve it happens to them. It was if that was true, we wouldn't really need a court system. If people just sort of naturally got what was coming to them and everything. So
Sounds to me like you're saying that the universe doesn't provide justice, so we have to provide it.
I think it definitely doesn't just naturally balance itself out, work itself out.
Yeah. So you don't believe in karma or some sort of a balancing of the scales after you die or something like that?
I'm not convinced.
Like you
man.
pay the price for what you did after you die or
I
something?
don't know.
No?
Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it could definitely. I think karma to some degree makes sense. Like I think on a small scale, it's almost like this. If you ever read that book, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, if you walk around smiling, generally, people are gonna probably smile back at you. Like I feel like karma is like kind of like that, right? If you're doing nice things for people, it's probably more likely to come back to you than if you're doing like horrible things. But is it like a surefire 100%? It'll totally balance itself out. You put this much in, you get that much out, like math or like physics or like a law. I don't think so. I think sometimes it's just there's just a unknown element of chaos that you just never know. And there's like good people that bad things can happen to, and you just have to, as much as possible, try to be grateful for the time you have with people, because you never know, man. Like you never know, like a car accident or some random brain tumor or somebody, anything. Like it's all so unpredictable.
A giant rock could fall out of the sky.
Yeah, man. I mean, my bike handles were loose earlier today as I was going down the hill, and I realized it, and I was like, that could have been bad.
That could have gone really bad.
We just kind of, we don't have a lot of like, bears running around here, reminding us how fragile we are, but it could happen, like there's all kinds of things that are, definitely without, out of our control.
So it sounds to me, what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that epistemology-wise, you like to reserve judgment. You're okay with saying I don't know.
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a little wary of people that are really convinced of something. And I kind of think part of that for me is that I grew up in and around Philadelphia, which is like a swing state, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I moved to Tennessee before my senior year of high school. And so that was something where, I met a lot of people that like they grew up in a different area where their parents vote differently. They have different religious beliefs. My dad's half the family is Jewish and white. My mom's half the family is black and Baptist. So there was always like kind of like different ideas floating around, and it wasn't so important to be right all the time as much as I think it was important to try to be able to
Get along.
be honest. More than get along.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like be honest about like if somebody asks you a pointed question, to give them a real answer, and that it wasn't the most important thing to agree with everybody on your philosophical sort of stances. And I think it's okay. Like I think here though.
They serve.
We get it.
Thank you.
I didn't realize those were back there.
All good. Yeah, I think it's just like it's people have way more stuff in common than they don't. You know what I mean? That's what I've sort of realized. People in Tennessee and here during each election cycle, they always seem to have issues with each other. Whenever I go back and forth, they're always like, "What are those idiots telling you over there?" On either side. I fly in there, they're like, "What are those idiots telling you?" Fly back here, and it's like so many of them would get along. Man. So many of them have so much in common. And it's just, I think that's the beautiful thing about this ping pong table, because it's like people come here and they don't even speak the same language sometimes, and they can just have fun together, and like it doesn't matter. Like all that stuff's kind of like
Yeah, it reminds me of Forrest Gump.
yeah. Forced.
He went to China or Russia or somewhere.
Yeah.
Didn't matter. You didn't speak the language. Ping pong.
Yeah, man. I play with people that only speak French. I play with people that only speak Chinese. All ages can kind of get down with this. Like it's just it's fun, man. It's a good time.
So you weren't raised with any religious beliefs? You said your dad was Jewish?
I was raised with both. I mean, we started going to like Baptist church until I was like probably like 10.
Okay.
And then we went to folk school until I was probably like, 14 maybe. And then at that point I started asking questions. And that's when they were like, all right, we're not going to...
Yeah, I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking, what exactly led you to conclude that neither religion was to your satisfaction,
Yeah, I mean, I think they
believable.
all have elements of truth in them. That's why they resonate. It's just like Star Wars resonates,
Yeah.
right? Like
There are people that wear the robes and go out with their
Yeah, I mean, there's
lightsabers.
elements of, yeah, exactly. Star Wars, movie Avatar. What's the other one? Any like classic story usually gets at some truth about the human experience that like math or physics or something can't really, get at. Like music too. A lot of like, even like hip hop today, a lot of it is getting at sort of similar kind of truths about the human experience. And
But as far as the truth value of it, what methods did you use to conclude that it wasn't, or that you didn't have sufficient reason to conclude that it was true?
I just didn't like either one of them telling me that it was like one was right and the other was wrong. I didn't.
Were
like,
they both saying the same thing to you? That basically, or I know the Baptists probably were, right? Because I was raised Southern Baptist, just to let you know.
Yeah, it was more the choice thing, that it was like there was some degree of like you can't be both. You have to make a choice. And when people started to push
Like
that
they
on
can't
me,
both be right.
Yeah, exactly. That's when I was like, well, at least one of them has to be wrong if there's this idea of being right. Which as I got older, I've kind of come around to this idea that it's like, well, it's less of a black and white thing, and I don't know if I ever really got into either of them enough to have real critiques of each religion. It was more just the amount of people around me that were like, you got to make a choice and you got to be down with one.
I see.
You know what I mean? You can't just.
So you just rejected the you're with us or against this mentality, and you're just like, I just won't participate.
Well, I just started asking a lot of questions my parents didn't want to answer, and that's where I started to like just kind of go like, well, I guess I don't need to really like claim one or the other,
I have a tough time getting people to answer questions about their religions that it's so tied up in their identity that they don't even want to risk probing it,
That's the toughest stuff, man. I mean, it's like,
But that's why I have to be neutral and non-argumentative.
Yeah. I mean, I bet like politics is the other one, especially here, because it's like, man, there were so many things that I thought about people that voted the other way before I moved to Tennessee. Like, I had it so wrong. Like, I was just like, I was so ingrained in what people thought, like, in my own bubble, that I thought like, just anything went like for the South, like any stereotype about the people down there. And I was just kind of shocked at how much everything was like not like that. Like that it was, a lot of it was just so overblown. The same way that stereotypes about here are overblown. And people have never been here. There's this assumption that it's like everybody's gay, naked, and like suffering from earthquakes all the time.
And on drugs.
Because on drugs, on the street. And that everything is so radically overpriced that nobody can afford to ever live here. And it's just like, or that like everybody in New York is miserable, or everybody in Philadelphia is like, like the same kind of thing, like just unhappy all the time or something like that. And it's I don't know, I think some people's identity is wrapped up in sort of being on a team, and their beliefs are sort of one of those things that they hold, they hold as part of their identity. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, that could be.
And so
also being right. I think that's the other thing about it too. Feeling right about something is a hard thing to give up. If you feel, I used to think I was right about a lot of things when I was like 19. I thought I had it figured out. And then you meet people and you realize not everybody fits into those boxes. That it's not that simple as like, everybody is like this from this place, or this is how men and women interact. Or, like I had all kinds of crazy ideas because you're just, I don't know. You're young.
I've heard it said that all models are false, but some are useful. I forget who said that.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably some truth to that. Yeah.
It's like you were probably right within a certain context, but just there was a larger context that you just weren't aware of, maybe.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. I was right about certain situations within my own life, and once I got into a broader perspective of things, it became clear that it was like just not, it didn't hold up for everything, But yeah. The older I get, the less I think I hold on to.
So it sounds like you believe in objective truth rather than subjective truth.
Kinda,
That's
probably.
one thing that I have to tackle with some people.
Yeah.
Whether it can be true for you or whether there's an actual truth underlying your belief, you know,
Yeah.
an objective one.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely that. I've been told I'm very pragmatic
Yeah.
and very rigid about different things. So.
There goes my hat. Alright, well, if you can't think of any truth claims, that's fine, but it was sure nice talking to you.
Let's talk to you soon, Cosmo.
I'm gonna swap this out.
I was gonna say we'd have a great podcast. I've been on it.
Yeah? You wanna let someone else play next? We can do an interview.
What's the name of the channel?
Intrepid Chimp.
Intrepid.
That's why I have this outfit on.
Uh-huh.
I'm an intrepid chimp.
Uh-huh.
Going into space.
Oh, nice.
And when I was up there, I met an alien. When my ship was breaking apart, and he turned me into a human so that we could talk. And after we had a talk, he sent me back to Earth to do interviews.
Yeah. You ever think about like setting up a booth at one of these like Hate Street fairs or something like that?
A booth?
Yeah, like, you know, there was a guy last year who had like he was doing like tarot card reading. Another guy that was doing like free poetry. You know what I mean?
My friend David suggested that we put up a sign that says free epistemology checkup.
Yes, it'd be perfect. You could just set up a table somewhere along here. You know what I mean? I thought about shooting a movie that way. About shooting a movie about dating in the Bay Area. Just have like a table, have people sit down, and just ask them like a set of like, you know, 4 or 5 questions, and then edit it into, you know, a kind of movie of different people's experiences. But you have to set up like 8 places. You have to do like here, the lake, you know, I don't know, maybe like outside a coffee shop or something.
Most of the people that do this sit down with chairs and tripods, and they have a sign, a whiteboard.
Yeah, change my mind about it.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But I'm trying to do something different where I walk around.
Yeah.
And that way get some sightseeing
Yeah.
as well. You can see it on my channel, Intrepid Chimp.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Sightseeing and epistemology talks.
This way you bring it to them too. You know, they don't have to do anything but, you know, opt in.
Well, if you ask someone to sit for an interview, then they have to interrupt what they're doing and stop for 10 or 15 minutes. But if you walk with them, where they're going anyway.
Yeah.
Mind if I walk along with you?
Yeah.
And they don't have to stop.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Woo, it's getting chilly.
A little bit. Yeah, it's picking up.
Fog's rolling in.
Yeah.
I haven't been a king in a week.
I didn't catch it.
Come on.
It's 5:13. That sounds like my dinner time.
Sounds good, man. That's good talking to you.
Good talking to you too.
Yeah.
I might put it up on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You never know.
Sure.
But really what I do is I explore the belief of people and ask them to gauge their confidence. And then we review how they got to it. And then we review whether the confidence is actually warranted by the way that you got to it.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of
For instance, if you were raised with the belief, is that really a good reason to believe that it's true?
That's a good way to put it.
This is what I was taught, and I just always believed it.
I remember asking somebody on the bus once in like 7th grade where she was talking about Judaism. And I was like, hey, what if your parents were Jewish? Like, would you just believe what they told you then? Like, if your parents were both Islam, like, you know, or Muslim.
Well, that would be, my question would be,
She got really
would
upset.
someone else that lives in a different culture, would they be justified in believing what they were taught just because they were raised with that? So you don't ask them if they're justified in their belief. You say, would this person over here who's doing what you're doing be justified?
The thing I often try to think about is like, if one of my friends came to me with a similar situation that I found myself in, and they asked me, what do you think I should do? What would I tell them? And it's given me a chance to step back
Woo!
Where was you going? You just think like, yeah, you know, as tempting as it is.
Another one.
Another one.
I got slammed. Alright, well, maybe I'll see you out here tomorrow.
Yeah, Cosmos. Good talking to you. No problem. Yeah.
Back up. Beep, 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 beep. Have fun. Oh, there it goes again. Whee! Oh, yeah. It's cold.